and award-winning author. And I take this opportunity every Friday at noon to have a little chat with people about finding ways to radically accept themselves and the world they live in. And I choose topics that I witness, not only from people that I work with, but just in the world, the things that people have the hardest time really grasping what it really means. And one of those topics is enlightenment and maturity. So when people talk about enlightenment, it can be infuriating because oftentimes people make enlightenment seem like it's something better than you are. And that's not what it means. The idea of being enlightened is literally being enlightened, meaning the burden that has been on you lifts off of you. And the process that one has to go through in order to transform and move your burdens off of you and put you in a state of enlightenment gives you a whole other level of wisdom and a whole other level of compassion and empathy and connection, not only to yourself, but the world around you. So I want to talk about exactly what enlightenment is, and then how that relates to the idea of maturity, developmental maturity. And I think to fully do that, you have to be able to talk about pain. Yes. That's the P word. Pain and grief are always, hi Melanie, nice to see you. Pain and grief are always going to be a part of the conversation when you're talking about enlightenment and maturity. And oftentimes people relate to pain, emotional pain, oftentimes for most people is more difficult to tolerate, process, to move through than physical pain. And so we have all kinds of built-in mechanisms that we use to transfer that pain, transfer onto someone else, onto another situation, to spread it about so that we don't have to feel the weight of that burden that ultimately will create our enlightenment. So I want to, as you know, I always read little sections from my book, Conquer Your Karmic Relationships, Heal Spiritual Trauma to Open Your Heart and Restore Your Soul. And in this, I talk about your karmic relationship, which means your karma is the multiple patterns that you incarnate as a spiritual soul into this body. You bring some patterns with you that really dictate or guide what you perceive, what you attract, and how you relate to those things until you can really get to a place of free will where you can acknowledge what's happening, address it, and then change it if you feel the need to. Again, that is a part of the process of enlightenment. And pain is one of those guideposts that allows us to see, oh, doing that over and over again is not good because it hurts. So when we talk about pain, some of the patterns that we have are cultural patterns, and they may be cultural patterns from other lifetimes. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about a little bit here, is talking about why we hold on to and how we carry through our spirit, through our soul into multiple lifetimes, a particular pattern of energy, of behavior, of experience. Like, so for those who have experienced enslavement, human trafficking, sex trafficking, genocide, homicide, suicide, for anybody who's experienced those kinds of traumas, you bring the pattern of that trauma with you into the next life and into the next life, until the next life, until you are in a position to be able to transition it, which means process it through, recognize it, honor it, grieve it, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that. And I'm starting here in the Slayer's Path, the practice of remembering, learning, and having. And it's in the chapter called Plenty, and it's talking about our relationship. I mean, in this particular one, it's talking about our relationship to food and money, like our relationship to currency. So I'm going to start from this portion in the paragraph. We keep the energy of those events, speaking about cultural or traumas that we've experienced in whatever lifetime. We keep the energy of those events woven in our spiritual memory in many ways, via our past life or soul history, by the energetic imprints in the environment, or through the experiences and beliefs of others that are spoken over us like paint poured over a canvas. They are kept in motion for a few reasons. First, so we don't commit those tragedies again. Second, because the people who lived through it in one generation now grieve their pain through us or the current generation. And third, spiritual pain has a cumulative effect. It is a powerful teacher. The continual change of perspective leads to an upgrade in ideas that brings about a release of grief and pain until they are definitively transformed into a completely new energetic vibration. We are not free of the memory, but we are imbued with wisdom to understand and transform what caused the trauma in the first place. This renders the memory powerless. So when we talk about enlightenment, we are talking about the cumulative effect of our spiritual trauma. Our emotional traumas, our ungrieved emotional traumas turn into a spiritual trauma that creates a pattern for us as we move through life. So it doesn't really matter what you're born into, as much as it matters where you've been and what you're doing. Thank you, Jed. So it matters how you perceive the world that you live in. And oftentimes you're perceiving the world that you live in, whether you relate to it as being empowered or being disempowered. You're going to relate to it based on where you come from first, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, what you bring into this life, and that will help you to perceive what you receive in this life. And as you begin to change that, things begin to transform. So enlightenment then is the process of becoming unburdened. When, like I said, there's a process, there's work to be done to become unburdened. And as you become unburdened, you gain maturity. You develop the ability to witness and connect with other people and to practice the wisdom that you've gained in your process of enlightenment. And you begin to use that. So that's the difference between enlightenment and maturity. Enlightenment is something that oftentimes people will spend a lifetime or lifetimes unburdening themselves from their past patterns. Sometimes you can do several at a time. Sometimes you can do one at a time. You will always find that there's a common denominator, a lowest common denominator that connects you to the people, places, and things that you find in your environment. And once you can recognize that through that thread that connects you, once you can really recognize what that is, it will help you to on a deeper level understand why you have those people, places, and things, jobs, experiences, those reoccurring things in your life. As you recognize them, it allows you to make a different choice on what you want to do with those things. And oftentimes it's going to lead you back to the original pain or the original trauma. So that went really quickly. That's really kind of what I had to talk about, and it moved so quickly. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to turn into so much more. There we go. Thanks for showing up. So if anybody has any questions, now's a great time to come up with your questions. I want to answer them. And let me just take one little minute and look at one other thing to see if there is more that I really feel like, okay. So the other thing that I want to talk a little bit about is something that I call our alarm system. We naturally have a spiritual, multiple spiritual layers of energy, our aura, we call that. But it's multiple vibrations. You can be mental, emotional, spiritual. And then there are even broader frequencies, faster frequencies of energy that help us to recognize nuances in particular situations. And we have our energy body, or we call it a body double. So you have your physical body, and then the next layer out of energy is what we call the body double. And it is created, it mimics the energy of your physical body, but is created by all the layers of your aura or your spirit. And that layer of energy, I call it the alarm system, because it will always alert you to when somebody's thinking of you. If you're sensitive, you can recognize when somebody's thinking of you, or when they're going to call you, or what they're thinking about you. You can have full conversations with them because of this connection to your alarm system. For other folk, it is the part that is connected to your pancreas and the islets of Langerhans, which are your physical body's fight or flight system that lets you know you need to get the fuck out. I can do that because it's my podcast. But when you need to move, and when your physical world, your body, is in danger, that's when ideally the fight or flight response comes in, and you have, superhuman perception and experience and physical acumen. You have a whole other level of things and focus to get out of the situation alive and to keep your soul in your body. That's the whole point. And one of the things, as we become more enlightened, as we release the burdens that we are carrying, we have to make a commitment to ourselves to change our relationship to our body double and to our alarm system, and recognize that being hypervigilant is a paradigm of fear, to constantly be prepared for what is coming your way. If you're going to live without that fear, then you just have to choose to know what you need to know when you need to know it. And you have to choose life, as opposed to the other concept of, I'm waiting to die, therefore I'm not really living. I'm afraid of life because underneath my need to live is the fear of dying. Right? So when our culture educates us and nurtures us to be hypervigilant, to be afraid, to expect less from ourselves and others. And it teaches us how to react to situations rather than to respond with thought and wisdom before we move with emotion and action. So your body double is the part of your energy body that really connects you to that part of yourself. And I highly recommend that you try what I'd call a ritual, a habit, an exercise. That's a good word. So every morning that you get up, you take a few moments, take 4 very deep cleansing breaths all the way down to the diaphragm. And then you exhale. You do that 4 times, so you really focus on releasing any inhibition, any frustration, any fear. Just become completely relaxed, and then tune in to your body double. And ask yourself, understand that the body double is also what holds our habits in place. So it is the last layer of defense we have before we fully transition into a new habit. So let's say you want to stop smoking. You smoke, you're used to, there's things that trigger your smoking, emotional triggers, food, drink, habits like certain people, places, and things all trigger a need to smoke. And if you're going to overcome that, not only do you have to deal with the physical habit and the nicotine, but then the final layer is all of those emotional triggers and the things you associate with smoking or you associate with helping you get through them. You're going to have to figure out a new way to get through them. So basically what you want to do after you take your breaths is you sit and you ask your body double what it needs from you in order to help you let go of your burdens. Because everybody's going to be in a different place with this. This is something that you and your body double, it's always going to represent your physical world body. But your physical world body actually can change every single cell in it in a year's time. So that means that literally we have the ability to go from complete dis-ease to total wellness in a year's period of time. And the reason why the reason why people in general don't often do that is because they have this mental, emotional, and spiritual soul patterning that keeps them ingrained in this flow of energy. And it keeps them grounded and connected to being in the same condition that they're in. So again, your body double, that layer of energy that goes from your physical body, the one layer out, it's dense energy. And it's going to be the thing that says, are you sure? Are you sure you want to stop smoking? Because maybe you don't. Maybe not today. Today is not the day to quit smoking. Today's not the day to be the nice guy. You're going to get taken advantage of, right? It's always going to give you that cautionary tale about why you shouldn't move forward. And it's not right, but it will keep you safe until it doesn't, right? The goal is that as you become more heart-centered, you can connect with yourself and others on a whole other level that keeps you safe, right? And it allows your body double to be in a position to do what it was intended to do, which was literally to keep you from being hit by the bus. If you're standing there and it's coming on, right? It's meant to move you quickly out of a position. It's not meant to constantly keep you on guard every minute of every day with anxiety, fear, depression, aggravation, anger, right? All of those are derivatives of this fear-based energy that we always feel like we have to be on to protect ourselves. And then eventually we use it as an excuse or under the illusion that we're not only protecting ourselves, but we're protecting others. We're going to save them as well as we're going to save ourselves. But the idea of enlightenment in this case is as you raise up, as you transform some of those burdens, you recognize that you can only do what you can do for yourself, but that because you are interconnected with everyone, because you do, they eventually will. And so it takes you out of that sense of obligation or superiority, right? You're not obligated to do for others what they really must do for themselves, but you're not better than them if you're doing it now and they're going to do it later. Everybody's got the place in the world in which they are of service. Whether or not you can see it doesn't matter. Everybody is of service in some way. And as we get to know our own burdens, as we begin to show maturity in our choices through the wisdom that is gained from the enlightenment of lifting off the burdens from our shoulders, as we begin to do that, we recognize the ways in which we are all interconnected. Okay. Now I feel complete. How about you? No questions today. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, it's always a pleasure. I do want to say, again, you can check out TraceeDunblazier.com. Conquer Your Karmic Relationships, Heal Spiritual Trauma, Open Your Heart to Restore Your Soul. You can get wherever books are sold, in whatever format you want it. And I do want to say that if you enjoy these chatcast calls, that I'm going to start a new program officially around the 15th. It should be set up by the 1st of this month. But it's called Living Radical Acceptance. And it's going to be an extension of this chatcast, but it's going to be a Zoom call. And it's a membership program. You can join monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And we do a 75-minute call every week, every Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And you can join the call, or you don't have to. You can listen to the recording later. You can do it at your leisure. But you can submit questions and have me answer them. And I'm going to, every month at the beginning of the month, I will post a list of topics that you can participate in and get your questions ready so that I can answer them once I start the call. But I can't wait to see you all there. I'm really excited about this program because it's going to be a way to create a new community, whether it's directly or spiritually, empathetically, connective, compassionately, where we are connected with a new group of people that are really striving to accept things as they are so that they can have the life that they want. So that's what I got for you today. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Again, this is Tracee, and this has been Chatcast.